Again, Heather. It's such a pleasure and privilege to have you on the AI native future. And this is where I speak with thought leaders about AI, but AI in the future as if AI is native in our society, in our business, in our learning, in our life, everything. So it'd be lovely for you to do a quick intro of yourself. I've learned a lot about you as an entrepreneur, your career path, everything. So please tell the audience, where you came from, why you're here.
Yeah, absolutely. So it all starts from the beginning. As a child, I was super interested in learning a lot about humans and how we operate. And so when I went to college, I decided to major in psychology, but then added on business to that as well and double majored in business and psych because I realized how applicable psychology is into the business world and how we operate as humans is very intricate into how we operate businesses as well and how we just operate in day-to-day life. And so started out my career in talent acquisition and then moved quickly into business development, all in the tech world. Interestingly enough, I started working in correctional facilities in tech. So have a very diverse background in what type of industries I've been in, and that's kind of really defines who I am as a person. I've been in sports, I've been in e-commerce, I've been in correctional, I've been in IT, I've been in networking. So really like to have that diverse operating. I also own a med spa on the side. A little interesting fact. And so most recently, I left my CEO position at an e-com agency to join Pallium AI, which is been incredibly exciting because I personally wanted to make an impact in organizations related to AI and how we can operate at a much higher level utilizing AI and to really help get rid of that fear that AI is replacing humans because it's not. It's not going to replace that emotional portion of us. So ultimately landed here because our founder is somebody that I know, and he told me about this brainchild of his about 2 years ago and ended up working with a PhD who focuses on human behavior and really developed Pallium and put it into place in his own organization and saw extremely positive results. So when he came to me and said, "Hey, do you want to join this team?" I could not say no because what we are doing is absolutely transformational. And I knew that as a female in tech, I wanted to be on the cutting edge. And as a former operator, I wanted to be able to help other operators identify things early so that you can be as productive and as effective as possible. So I kind of droned on there a little bit, but that's a little bit about me. Again, I have very diverse background and I have a family. I have 3 kids and a husband, and who are all very supportive of my career ambitions. So,
Incredible. So, Pollen, powerful name, business intelligence, as I quickly learned a little bit from your website. Um, why now, in terms of AI for operations from conversation to pick up signals? Can you just give us like a quick, overview of your so-called secret sauce
yes,
for this?
absolutely.
Yeah.
The name of your LinkedIn Live, the AI native future. We are very AI enabled as a society at this point versus truly AI native. And so I always go to like, what is the definition to me of AI native? And it truly means like layering in AI, not just like utilizing it to write emails, make them sharper, come up with ideas, brainstorm, but literally from an operational standpoint, being able to learn more about what is going on in the organization overall, to be able to make fast decisions, and ultimately impact outcomes positively. And so, what Pallium is, and I will get into this more in greater depth as I show you the platform, but essentially, we are extracting all unstructured data from all communications. So, emails, chats, call recorders, everything that you can possibly think of, CRMs, meeting transcripts. And we are taking all of that information and identifying patterns in communication, patterns in strain in relationship across all clients, across only the client, to ultimately say, hey, this is actually what's going on in your business, and here's the evidence that is associated with it, so that you know, as an operator or as a staff member or whoever, you're operating at a high level of intelligence in what you're doing. And so it's been really phenomenal. As of right now, we have an account management view, a staff view, and we're continuing to add modules on literally a weekly basis. Everything from culture to sales. And so we're ultimately driving, I would say the largest thing that we're driving is we're really getting down to the root cause. So in
Mm,
lieu of saying, okay, this happened because, well, let me give you actually a real life example. As I was operating an e-com agency,
mhm.
I had a sneaky suspicion, a little intuition, might you say, that a client was going to churn. And so I went to the account manager and I said, I'm seeing a couple different signs that, this client might leave. And the account manager said, oh, no, they love us. They think we're the best thing since sliced bread. They're always happy to talk to us. And ultimately, I said, I really want to hop on that next call. So, as an executive sponsor, I hopped on the next call and I was very direct. And I said, I'm seeing some things. You're not, really participating in this. Tell me a little bit about what's going on. And within a day, the company actually let us know that they were not planning on renewing, and they had known that for a little bit of time, but we're trying to figure everything out. And
Mm.
so, in lieu of, like, if I had had Pallium, it would have completely solved the problem, because I would have been able to say, no, based on the conversations that you're having, genuinely, like, this client is likely to churn. What can we do about that? And if we couldn't do anything about it, if they had made their decision already, um, great. But then what can we do about it? And that's where like Pallium really got me, and why I said absolutely to our founder that I had to join this
Yeah.
team, because if I could take actual insights and genuinely make a decision or make change much sooner to ensure that there is a positive outcome versus a negative outcome that positively impacts my revenue versus negatively, positively impacts the employees, the relationships, all of that, then I need to have this information at my fingertips. Because as we all know, as operators, we're putting out fires daily. We're tackling different projects all the time. Like, you have people coming to you and asking you questions about different things. Like, I even have focus time on my calendar at this point, because you never know when you're going to actually be able to sit down and execute versus just solve problems. Pallium eliminates all that. And we've seen it across multiple businesses where literally account managers can manage more accounts, operators can have more insight, C players turn into A players. It's really groundbreaking compared to anything that's out there at this point in time.
Right. So it's very intriguing. It sounds promising. Would you like to kind of show and tell a little bit? Then I
Yeah,
can ask you more questions.
absolutely. Let me share my screen.
Awesome.
You can get into the slideshow here.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to just take you through a quick slideshow and kind of give you some insight into where our thinking comes from. So, we literally integrate all comms. So, we have all integrations available: Slack, Google, Microsoft, Zoom, just to name a few, Fireflies, Fathom, all the call recorders. But the real big reason that we wanted to pursue this is because what we've really discovered is that there's structured data and unstructured data. Your structured data is like, what are your sales reps entering into the CRM? What are we reporting up? What are we reporting to our peers is going on within a client or within the business or whatever? What's being said at the water or at the water fountain every day. So really, what we wanted to do is say, okay, how can we ensure that we're getting all of the unstructured data and communications in as well? So, and then being able to relate it back to the client itself. So then really what you're seeing is 10% of all data is structured, the other 90% is unstructured, and we had to figure out a way to extract that data. And so everything important happens in communications. How often have we been in a situation where we're having a one-on-one with an employee? We don't write something down. We don't follow up in an email. We say, "Hey, did you get that done?" And they come back and they're like, "You said that?" And you're like, "Yeah, like four different times." But it wasn't discoverable. And so we're really trying to make sure all of that data is in one place. So essentially, insights through objective observations. And like, let me hit on that really keenly here. Objective, not subjective. We're not talking about any sort of data without evidence. Everything that is in Pallium is evidence based. And the unique thing about Pallium is we're not just using, it's not just an LLM wrapper like a lot of technology is. The LLM literally helps us with the language and interpretation, but we're using knowledge graphs and machine learning to fully understand what is going on within inside of a business. So a little bit about how it works. I'm actually going to show a couple screens. Of, so this first portion is the client relationship dashboard, bearing in mind that Pallium sits on top of all of your other tech. And literally everything is populated based on your comms with exception to goals. So I'll get into goals in a minute, but everything else, your action items, your issues, your initiatives, your account health score, all of that is literally pulled in without a single person entering any data at all. So it's pretty, and then instead of like going through as an operator or as the person that's dealing with this, instead of going through 40 emails, 40 transcripts, whatever, to really understand the client relationship, we actually have an account briefing where you get an executive summary, 4 or 5 sentences, and then you can go into risks and actions you should take. I mean, it is literally kind of like your day to day, what should I tackle today? And based on true relevancy and risk and things of that nature. So, just to really quick re-summarize, every single action item, every issue, every signal comes into this platform.
Yep.
So here's where it gets really good. How do we like actually score and have that signal breakdown? We're looking at 44 discrete signals. Like, is trust language showing up? Is it declining? Is there a delay pattern building? Is your client taking longer to respond? Shorter answers, less engagement. What about your employee? Are they sending less lengthy emails or less detailed around it? Every single one of these signals gets scored either positive, or negative, and the literal depth of the conversation matters as well. So, out of the box on day one, you literally with zero customization, you're going to get 2 to 4 months of proactive churn warning immediately. We take a look at 90 days of data, we ingest that from all your comms using OAuth, and then what we can do is we can actually build a custom risk module to look at your historical churn data. So let's say you have a client that churned 5 months ago. We go all the way back in time and we can identify why that happened and what patterns existed and then what to do about it. So it's pretty intuitive in nature, and literally you can identify these things so many more months in advance. So I go back to my earlier example where I'm having this intuition. This intuition was over a period of probably a month or two, but
Yep.
it was building. It was building the entire time. And whether our account manager knew exactly what to look for, whether they just didn't have that knowledge, or whether the client was just telling them what they wanted to hear, it didn't matter. These things would have been known to us much sooner if we had had Pallium in place. So, as I mentioned, goals, initiatives, and sentiment over time, we take a really hard look at this. Goals are the only thing that you enter manually. And what you can do is you can consider a goal as like a pretty large net, or you can make it even smaller. You can type in more information so that when we are capturing the comms and the signals, we're actually bringing that in based on the goal of the client. The only thing that anybody has to actually manually input in Pallium is what the goal is. And then instead of going, again, doing that deep dive, you're reading a sentence or two to figure out what's going on. And if you want to go further into it, then you can actually go further in, see where the evidence base is linked, and also what action items would be relevant to take next, which is ground. I mean, it's mind-boggling because how often are we sitting there and going, okay, I have the information at my fingertips now, but what do I actually do? What should I do next? And we are living in a time of information overload. So, you know, everywhere you look, you're opening up your phone. You've got 65 notifications about, hey, I got to go do this today. I got to do that. I got to do that. It's all very distracting. And so what Pallium does is it takes all that and it just says it takes away the nonsense. It says this is something you should consider doing. Looking at sentiment over time, I'm actually going to go back. The mention trend too. Here we're looking at how often a topic or a goal is mentioned, and typically, like what you see here is, as we're getting dialed in, you see a lot of excitement from the team. Everybody's talking about it, and then generally some of that falls off, and then as we're making progress, you should see it heightened. In this particular case, on this example, you'll see that the mention trend actually slows. So when we're talking to our client or when we're talking to our employees, we can say, "Hey, look, like we're looking at the trend here in this graph, and this is so important because it's visual." And I can say, we haven't really talked about this in a while. And what's going on there? Really, we should have seen a heightened, it should have, the graph should have gone back up because we're starting to accomplish more. And so we can actually identify these things and bring them to the attention of our clients and our employees.
Mhm.
So when we're talking about sentiment over time, like I mentioned, high enthusiasm early, a dip when real work kicks in, and then again, a dip that doesn't recover, we know that that is a churn signal. Like somebody is not heavily invested anymore, whether it's the client or our employee. Um, it it's very difficult to get this information if you're not using a system like this. Oftentimes I get, hey, we're using a call recorder. We have the transcripts. That's great. Those transcripts and the AI generated text, it's going to tell you what happened on that call, but it's not going to tell you about the relationship over time and how that relates directly to your goals, pulls out issues, blockers. It's not going to do any of those things. So we're not doing the same exact thing. We're actually utilizing the data within all of the communications to proactively identify how to act and how to proactively act. Like I think that's the most important thing versus react. And as an operator, I can tell you, like it's not fun to react. It is frustrating,
Mhm.
and we all want to be more proactive, but we don't always have the tools at our disposal to do so. So this is a tool that would allow you to be more proactive. So, and then where churn hides, what you'll see here is these are blocking issues that are coming out of our initiatives. These are things that are being pulled out of the communications. Things like with this particular client, payment processing revenue flat. And it's actually identifying, high, medium, low, like is this something that you should focus on right now? There are things that are low priority that we can fix really easily. Great, we'll take that off our plate. But these high things, these are where we really need to be focusing our efforts. And if we're left to our own device, we oftentimes will go, okay, let's go check off the easiest things first rather than going and looking at like where the real issues are. So it's really now we're no longer reacting, we're leading the conversation. We're talking about how do we solve the problems early rather than waiting. Then this is our staff view, and this is where it really gets interesting to me, having a background in psychology, and really loving people. Like I would say, as for me, where I work best is in relationship, and I think humans are so unique and everybody's different. Everybody responds differently to different things. We have to motivate people differently. And so really what we're looking at is now we're taking it down to that staff view level where an individual can take their feedback and act on it. So this becomes a coaching tool further. It's not just like how we have organizational
Right.
observability. We're also
Yeah.
now able to coach people. And it's really like your B and C players who should be A players, but maybe they just don't know what to do. We're looking at the SCARF model. We're looking at their effectiveness. We're looking at their communication frequency over all their clients, whoever they're talking to. And so, what we're seeing whenever we do this is we're going to get faster response times, we're going to get better follow through, and we're also going to address topics that we should have addressed but hadn't been addressing. So, really, here we are helping our staff members get better. We're helping our employees get better. We're helping them use AI so that it's no longer a threat. It's truly like, hey, this is what we should be working on. Here's the evidence behind it. And now you can take this and work through it. Later models that we have down the line, like our vision, is to even look at people and say, are you in the right role for you? We think you're great in the organization, but where will you thrive? Where will you have more passion? All of those things are in our purview at this point in time, and it's super fascinating how we're doing it. So
Right.
to go a little bit further in, and do you have any questions about any of this at all?
I will ask you questions. I mean, feel free to just get
Yeah.
through your
All
flow.
right. Great. That's fantastic.
People are
So
reacting. People are,
it's awesome.
intrigued. So keep
I'm,
going.
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is what I was kind of referring to in the last slide is the transformation strategy, turning the C players into A players. This is where it gets specific. So you can see here, we go into the SCARF assessment. We're looking at empathy. We're looking at assertiveness. We're seeing how clear the statements the people are making are. We're looking at their language patterns. We're looking at the call structure. How are you taking the client through your agenda? We're looking at all the things. But what matters most is we're not trying to catch people doing something wrong. We're giving people the clarity and the transparency to move forward. And again, I want to really emphasize like transparency in today's day and age is so important. It is so important. We need to be transparent about all things. As a leader, like I want all of our people to know exactly what's going on in the organization because solutions don't come from one brain. They come from all of our brains. And we want to just, our goal is to make that human connection stronger.
Right.
In the face of AI threatening jobs, what do we need to do as humans? We need to become stronger and know how to use it to our advantage. So that's really what we're doing here. And then ultimately, when we see success, if we have an A player and we're in and they're consistently their client retention's high, they're constantly closing deals. When we see those positive things, we're actually taking what we're seeing and then we take it and we coach other people on the team with the effectiveness strategy. And we have that well-rounded picture. We don't have this like little tidbit of what you put in the CRM. Oh, great, you're a successful sales rep, you're closing deals, but why? Why are you able to do that? Why do your clients love you? What are you delivering to them that is more effective than your cohort over here on the side? And so, really, it's just giving us a lot of information and data to
Mhm.
be able to be more efficacious in operating on a daily basis. So, really quick,
Mhm.
oftentimes we get asked the question, how long does this take to work? Literally, we can get somebody up and running in a week. We plug into the existing tools. We have a whole, onboarding timeline, and we get buy-in from everybody on their staff. We want to make sure that everybody feels comfortable. We give delegated access via OAuth. It's all very secure. We even have operated behind other companies' firewalls when they want it to be extremely secure. And so, yeah, we within a week, you're able to connect, understand, and act. And I say that because it's really important to note that like oftentimes people are going, oh, another software, we're going to implement another software. And that's hard. It's hard for people to, implementing a HubSpot or implementing a new HRIS. Like that all takes time. This is not that. This sits on top of everything else that you're already doing. You're already recording calls, you're already emailing. All this is doing is pulling out all of that unstructured data and turning it into something that you can act on. So, really quick, some of the results that we've seen with the specific professional services firm, we saw 47% reduction in OpEx expenses from improved account management, 86% reduction in operations department, eliminating reactive fire drills, 200% increase in client sat. Unbelievable. 1 day detection, issue detection down from 4 to 8 weeks. I mean, this is insane. Like, we think that Claude Cowork is phenomenal. It is. It's great. We can all work from our phones now. But genuinely speaking, like Claude Cowork isn't inside of your organization determining how do we become better? How do we become more profitable? How are our clients more satisfied? Same thing with staff augmentation company. We saw a 14% reduction in churn, 20% improvement in retention, and 2 times productivity gain. We have people that are managing way more accounts because they're able to get all of that data ingested a lot easier. And then a B2B consulting practice. Here's where this again makes me most excited. 33% increase in staff confidence. So again, in the day and age when we're talking about AI replacing jobs, we're doing the opposite. We're increasing staff confidence and ensuring that humans feel like, yes, there is a place for me alongside all of this new technology that is out there. So, that I'm going to stop sharing my screen and come back to you so we can have a conversation about it.
Awesome presentation. So actually, you said quite a few keywords. I'm going to follow up on some of the keywords. The first would be the knowledge graph with machine learning, because you are not a rapper. You're just not using LLM to transcribe or give you a summary, right? We're sick tired of those things.
Oh,
Um,
100%.
so could you describe a little bit more about the knowledge graph, the machine learning, without giving away your secret?
Yes, I will do my very best. So essentially, what we're doing is we are taking all the communications and building out the trends and the patterns that we're seeing.
Mhm. Yep.
And it goes a lot more into depth. And then our own machine learning, we are learning what is going on with those patterns and trends, if that makes
Yep.
sense. And so it's not just summarizing what's happening, it's actually taking the real data and learning from it and saying, okay, putting it all together, I think is probably the most basic way to say it. We're taking all of the data and putting it all together and saying, what does this actually mean?
Okay.
And there's
Now, the
no hallucinations, whereas with LLMs, it can
right,
only ingest so much before
right.
it starts getting confused. And it's true, like it happened to me today. And I am an avid user of LLMs.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, it doesn't fully give you the largest perspective. What gives you the largest perspective is real data.
So now it kind of leads to the next question. Um, Data. How do you get people's buy-in in terms of trusting you by sharing that layer of pretty internal, you know, behind the scenes data, um, in able to make your platform effective? How do you get that buy-in?
So it's not easy,
Right.
always,
Yeah.
because we are facing a new age. And so education is by far the most important thing that we can absolutely do. And so we have to educate on security. Most often the objective or the objections don't necessarily come from a business owner or operator. It's typically from your staff that have more objections and they're going, wait a second, You're seeing our
Exactly.
email, you're seeing our stuff. So what we've done is we've built in layers. So like an email that's sent to HR, for instance, that's sensitive. That's not going to get pulled into the system. But it's educating and saying, hey, look, first of all, company owns all the data anyways.
Yeah.
Anybody can go into your email at any point in time because you signed an employment agreement and but here's what we're using this for. We're using this for productivity. We're using it to make you better. We're using it to ensure your job, not to take it away.
Right.
So it's an education about what AI really is. I always like to say this is like it's organizational AI, but it's more powered by AI more than anything because it's not like Pallium is going to come and take somebody's job. It's merely just giving the data so that we can all do our jobs better and we can connect better as humans.
Right.
So education is the most important thing. And I think you probably find that to be true in this realm anyway.
Awesome. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing in terms of hosting somebody like you to give you the time to educate, the audience, and everybody can come back and see the replay. Your clients can come here and watch your in action. So who are your ideal early adopters?
Well, because it's an interesting question because our ideal client profile proven is really B2B professional services firms starting out.
Right.
We do have an enterprise solution for much larger firms, but they're more customized software development. It's more built out because they typically have a more specific use case. But typically, 50 to 500 employees and professional services where you're dealing with clients in some way, shape, or form.
Right. So I asked about the early adopters versus the ideal customer profile because really it takes sort of the great mind to understand what's all happening behind the scenes. And
Fair.
also, it takes courage to bring in something new and convince everybody to be on board. Do you have like a case study, even without mentioning the client's name? You know, Going beyond your previous experience as a CEO of the company and how you
Yeah.
could tell with your intuition. Could you share like a couple success case studies?
Yeah, absolutely. So, one is specifically a coaching service.
Yeah,
One of our clients is a B2B coaching service. And the case study is so strong that they literally will not work with a client anymore unless they're willing to put Pallium into place first and they get 90 days of historical data. And so that says a lot to me. When you talk about early adopters, especially in this use case, they really have to have a growth mindset. Can't be fixed. It has to be very growth mindset, and they have to see the value. And most of their employees do too. But once they see it, they see what it does and how it does it, then it's proven in that case. But literally, I think that speaks for it the best is that this business coach who has a slew of other coaches within his business, they literally will not deploy a new client anymore without deploying Pallium because it gives
that's
them
exciting.
way more information to be able to help strategically coach their clients on how to operate their businesses.
Okay. So LinkedIn is a perfect platform for that because there are so many business coaches
There
here,
are.
right?
Yeah.
So great. It makes it worthwhile for you to be here. Um, any other examples that
Yeah,
you
we
could
also
share?
a fractional financial firm. Again, similar uh, to going into a business and looking at finances is one thing, but to really understand what's impacting the financials is another. And so, same thing. Like there's again that intuition we had with a client who he said, look, like. I can walk into a business and I can tell you who your ABC players are within 20 minutes of talking to each employee. And I know that, but like that is not easily trusted. Just because I have the ability to do that doesn't mean that the business owner is going to go, yeah, like, these are our A players. We're going to keep them, but more than anything, this is what your B players need to do, be productive. This is what your C. So it all is evidence based. And so he deployed it in his business and instantly saw client satisfaction go up because he was able to actually show them evidence about what he was already telling them, but
Mhm.
they were able to see it themselves, and that makes it a lot more believable, and they could trust that the data was actual.
So if we step back and kind of zoom out a little bit, with your, new company as a chief revenue officer, growing an AI platform, how do you see this so-called AI native future for organizations? How do you think they can do better to empower human versus so-called displacement or, job canceling or replacement? So what's your vision on that?
So, as I mentioned earlier in the call, like I would call an organization that's maybe using everybody's got the $20 chat GPT or whatever subscription. I would call them AI enabled. And like I said, I would call an organization who's operationalizing AI as like the second wave of the future. And it's really saying, okay, what is the next wave? It's about actions.
Yeah.
It's not just about, okay, how can like typing into ChatGPT make this email sound more professional? It's about detecting issues, detecting positive things, being able to decide and make decisions based on that, then being able to create kind of a route as to where, we're going to go, and then executing and then learning from it. And so really when you're talking about how do we ensure that we're helping people, we have to have like the context rich AI to really change the business and connecting that intelligence with the operating reality of the business itself. And so when you educate everybody about why we're doing this, how risks are being surfaced now, like people start to get more comfortable with it and start operationalizing it into their day-to-day practice. And with something like Pallium, it's automatically there. Again, you're not changing your workflows really at all. You're just taking it to the next level and taking those workflows and actually changing them into actionable insights.
I think you have a real opportunity to make managers better and managers because I don't think you are necessarily just detecting failures. I think you are picking up signals. And once your system gets smarter and with more adoption, I really see the true potential with managers, especially people who grow into, leadership roles, how they can pick up signals, how can they lean in without, over, shadowing, how they can, as you said, motivate people because different people are, um, are motivated or encouraged in different ways. They have different value system, communication style, and all that. So I think that's a real opportunity for you. Really, kind of just get very busy managers, as you said, instead of just putting out fires to
Yeah.
be more intelligent.
Well, and
Um,
that's the cool thing about it is this isn't
yeah,
about micromanagement either.
exactly.
It is
It,
about giving the employees the data they need and being very transparent about it.
yeah.
And, you're all of a sudden your weekly check-ins are no longer like, hey, what'd you do this week? Give me a status update. It's like, what can we do to make real change?
Exactly. So just to echo that, my daughter works as a data analyst on a women basketball team at a college. So one of her earliest tasks was counting and capturing high fives between the players during practice. Why? And then they went to the degree that who initiated the high five
Oh yeah.
during practice, not on the court and playing the championship game. So what you are doing is really sort of intuition that had enabled winning teams or winning leaders. You're just putting it into a system enabled by today's technology. So super exciting for you, Heather. Congratulations on your role. I'm so glad that we could have this chat with some, overcoming some technical difficulties and we made it here.
We made it. That's why
Exactly.
humans are not replaceable. We are always going to have technical difficulties.
You would
So
think that Zoom could just make it work, but
yeah,
no, we had
I
to.
love what you said about your daughter too. I'm a former Division 1 soccer player, and
Oh, wow.
I actually also sometimes go to I'll give a shout out to Burn Boot Camp, and they literally do high fives. They like make you high five people, but it's true. It raises motivation, but like it's that I guess as we're concluding, that's what this boils down to is that I love humans. And I think we bring such a unique frame of mind to everything. And I love talking to people. I've really enjoyed talking to you today, Helen. I really admire the work that you're doing, especially for women on the frontier of AI. And our goal is to help people, just help people. Real quick, share that one of the reasons our founder wants to be successful in business is because his whole goal in life is to help others start businesses and be impactful and then impact many, many, many lives. So this is grounded in a really, really solid place. So it's been very appreciate you having me on today, and it's been very nice speaking about Pallium with you.
Thank you. Thank you for your kind words and thank you for spending the time. I think everybody could learn something from this session and welcome to the replay. You can replay this anytime, anywhere.